What's up, YouTube? So today's topic, I'm gonna talk about my reaction after seeing the movie called Backrooms. Backrooms, man, that movie, man, I think that movie just came out, it was new. It was a horror movie, but like, man, like that shit was insane. That shit had me thinking, man. Like that movie was some deep shit. If you haven't seen the movie, please, I recommend not watching this video because I do not want to spoil it for people who have not seen this movie. I'm not gonna go too much into detail because like it's a lot to explain. I literally just got out of the movie theaters, and it's a lot to explain. But I'll probably make a part two with that movie. But like, damn, that shit was crazy. But with my channel, I'm gonna start making movie reviews and reactions and like the type of messages I see from this movie based on my own perspective and shit like that. But yeah, but man, so if you haven't seen this movie, I recommend watching it, but I recommend don't watching this video because I don't want to spoil it. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about it, but y'all know what I'm saying. But that movie was insane though, cause fuck, man, like that shit was trippy as fuck. What really stood out to me, honestly, I'll rank Obsession and Black Rooms at the top movies of this year without a doubt. The movie Michael Jackson, that was a good movie as well, but I just did not like the ending of Michael Jackson. I mean, I understand why they ended the movie Michael Jackson like that, because if they were to continue with the movie, it would have been a long ass fucking movie because Michael Jackson has such an interesting long ass life story, you know. But rest in peace, Michael Jackson. But that movie was awesome though. It was nice, but I still didn't agree with the ending. The ending was like it couldn't have been better. But honestly, the movie of the years, without a doubt, I'll say Obsession and Backrooms. I don't know which movie's better out of these two, but these two movies are definitely the top dog of this year, without a doubt. Like hands down. These two movies, I'm so happy that I've seen those movies. The year 2026 seems like a great year for like horror movies, you know. I've heard with these movies, um, I've heard that they don't have the original writers like how they used to have back in the day. Now they have like people who are either become well known through social media or just people who are like just normal, I guess, and like they didn't come from um a nice upbringing, and then they're basically what I'm saying is that with these new movies they're making, most especially these horror movies, they're coming from people um who are out of the ordinary, that they come from unique backgrounds, so they're not your typical writers. I think that's true. I think someone mentioned that, so that's a good thing. So I feel like the movie industry I feel like it's heading in the right direction. It was kind of shit for a long ass time, but over the years, like the early 2000s, the movies were nice, but as like up until 2013, up until 2024, 2025-ish, that's when movies were getting lame. But 2026 is definitely improving when it comes to horror movies. But anyways, I know it's kind of long background now, but that movie, man, what I got from it was how so this movie is basically like a psychology movie. It's just movies based on psychology, basically. It's really hard to break down because there's so much shit that goes along with it. I feel like that movie was very spiritual. At least that's how I interpret it. But and I'm not saying how I interpret it as facts, but that movie was insane, man. It was a lot of psychology. I think it deals with like what happens if you have like a mental health illness. I do see a lot of narcissism in that movie as well, how narcissists think and operate. That was very interesting. And I felt like this movie was very spiritual because basically it was like I still don't know what the meaning of the movie was, but it was dealing with a lot of hallucinations, a lot of I don't know. It was very fucking trippy. It was very spiritual, that's why. Because when, again, I'm not gonna go too much detail movies because it's a long ass fucking explanations, but basically you have a group of people who discovered a big ass fucking room just by simply going through a wall. And then this fucking big ass room, it's not even a room, it's a fucking maze. It's like it's really hard. Like I said, it's hard to explain this movie. And it's crazy because the characters even say that. I forgot what the exact wordings, but like, it's like if you can't if you experience, because what they say is, what they said in the movies, part of the quotes was like, if you experience something but you can't explain it, it's like a dog. It's like trying to teach a dog to do something, but the dog doesn't understand it. That's what they were saying, which was fucking that was some deep shit. I forgot the exact words though. Basically, they were saying that's hard to explain, and I find that very spiritual because when you, because for example, like there's different realms, there's different realities and stuff like that, and when you pass away, I do believe there is an afterlife, and I do believe in ghosts and spirits and shit like that. That's hard to explain. Paranormal activity is hard to explain. So that's why this movie was very spiritual to me. I feel like if we pass away from this human experience, we experience different realms, different realities. That's really hard to explain to a human being, you know? And shout out to Chauncey One, because I remember Chauncey One, I thought about him with that movie because he mentioned on one of his videos, shout out to him, to Chauncey One. He said, I forgot the exact words he said, but he basically said, when you go to like a different realm or experience a different reality, the human brain cannot grasp it, because it's like saying, yeah, it's just saying like a dog. It's just like explaining a pet dog how it's like to be a human. The dog can't grasp it based on its brain, based on the mind and the organs and the nervous system of a dog, how it was created. It can't grasp what it's like to be a human, and vice versa. A human can't grasp what it's like to be a dog or a cat, you know? So, where am I getting at? Oh yeah, so that movie, it was basically talking about some shit like that. So that's why this movie was so fucking random, but it's hard to explain, but there's so much fucking meanings in that movie, you know? But yeah, so that's some deep shit, man. Very deep shit. But yeah, but it involved with characters going through a room, and then they're just exploring the fucking maze, and there's this fucking random ass monster just attacking people. They're just eating them. I don't know, they're kidnapping them or killing them and stuff like that. And then that monster was doing it one by one. And then you have other fucking human figures that were all fucked up, and they're also trapped in that room for a long ass time, and they're attacking other people. It was some crazy shit. It was some random ass shit. But yeah, there's just so much questions with that. That's why that made this movie so great, because there's so much questions, and it keeps you guessing. It keeps your mind thinking and stuff like that, you know? So it keeps the brain stimulated. It's a good ass movie. Very fucking creative. Yeah. But overall, one of the characters, basically with him, basically he had a lot of mental health issues. So he had to go to the psychologist and all that. And long story short, the guy went into the room. I don't know what happened to him, but apparently he got kidnapped, and he got stuck in that maze. And then eventually his psychologist, the female, she eventually went inside that walls or that door as well too. And now she found him, or that guy found her, and then that guy basically choked her out, made her pass on, then he kidnapped her and stuff like that. And then they're having a talk on the table and shit like that. And like and he was just talking about his trauma, and they wanted to role play, you know, about his certain traumas and stuff like that. And to come to the conclusion, he's basically a narcissist, basically, based on how his mind operates, because he does not take accountability. He doesn't self-reflect and stuff like that. So and he wanted control. And then once that psychologist called his ass out, that guy who was like, some deep shit he said was that there's nothing I could do to change my mind. It's just how I am. I belong in that maze room. This is where I belong. I can't change. I can't do it. And when that scene happened, I interpreted it as how people who are very narcissistic, how they operate. They do operate like that, because people who are narcissists or narcissistic people, the reason why they are the way they are is because they don't know how to fix themselves. So one, they're not even aware most of the time. But two, even if they are aware, they don't have the strength or the courage to fix themselves, because it's going to cause a lot of pain on them. Because the reason why narcissists or narcissistic people don't take accountability, they don't self-reflect, they don't have that self-awareness, is because they develop an ego from a young age to protect themselves. And by doing that, they have to be a dickhead towards other people, basically, or like they don't like being held accountable. They don't like apologizing because it's gonna trigger shame into them, and they don't like feeling shame because before they had that ego and shit like that, they were abused, they were mishandled, they were mistreated and stuff like that. They've been attacked and shamed a lot, and they don't want to feel those feelings again. And it's not like they're aware of like they're experiencing all this. All they're aware of is that they don't want to feel pain. Is because most narcissists, they are abused from a young age when they're younger, and when you're young, you're basically vulnerable because you don't have the physical strength or the awareness to protect yourself or to survive on your own. So that makes sense that you develop an ego to protect yourself, to have but yeah, but that's like most narcissists starts from childhood and shit like that. And so it made sense when that character said, I can't change because he just can't do it. This is how his mind operates. He just can't do it. He says he doesn't want to. Not because he don't give a fuck, but because it's too painful. And I correlate that to with how narcissistic people operate. And because in that maze, people are dying over there. There's a lot of pain and suffering in that maze. That interprets as like the maze as a human mind, pretty much. This is why everything's so chaotic. And then once that guy apologized and he took accountability to that psychologist, like he apologized for kidnapping her and he apologizing for being difficult. He tried to free her because he tied a knot on her hands or whatever. So he tried to free her and stuff like that. And after he apologized, one of the monsters came in and he just that monster killed him and shit like that. So that representation to me is basically like an ego death, to where when a narcissist or narcissistic people do take accountability, they do have the self-awareness and they do decide to do right, it's going to cause them to collapse mentally. They're gonna have a breakdown because they've been using their ego as a defense mechanism throughout their whole lives and shit like that, which will cause them to collapse, basically. This is why narcissists are the way they are, and this is why they don't change. And I got all the information on how narcissistic people operate from a New Mind Frame. Shout out to New Mind Frame, because she has two channels, New Mind Frame and New Mind Frame Tarot. She breaks down why narcissists are the way they are and how they operate. With me, I forgot the exact wordings word for word, so I am missing key parts, but overall that's basically what it is, basically. But yeah, so with that movie, there's a lot of interpretations with it. Yeah, that movie was insane though, man. Also, I feel like that movie was kind of symbolizing how people who have a lot of mental health issues, people who are very I can't say the word. Synchrophonic, I think that's the word. People who hallucinate a lot, people who are on drugs and stuff like that, or even people who are like mentally handicapped, or people who are like just fully handicapped, to where they can't think for themselves. They can't physically or mentally do things themselves. That's probably how their mindset operates. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of symbolic shit with that. It was kind of deep. It's kind of creepy, man. It's just like it just shows how deep the human mind can actually operate and stuff like that. Some very trippy shit. Some very evil. That movie was crazy. It's very interesting though. Very fucking interesting. A lot of symbolism in that movie. But yeah, that movie was a great movie though. Great fucking movie. A great movie. And I viewed them going into like that maze, that separate room, by them going through it. I interpret that as going to another realm, going to another reality, because that maze is a whole different fucking area. It's a big ass fucking area full of fucking other people who are killing other people. So like, yeah, it's definitely like a different realm. like a hell realm or something. There's a different reality, which makes sense on why the characters are keep quoting that it's hard to explain what they're experiencing and stuff like that, because you can't really explain spirituality. You can't really explain what happens at life after death. You can't explain paranormal activity. So I attribute that as well. But that's all I got to say. I don't want to go too much detail. I'm tired. But if you've seen the movie Backrooms, please comment down below and how you feel about the movie and your interpretations about this movie. I know I'm all over the place, but I'm just speaking my mind. That's all I got to say. Have a good one. Peace.